What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite live stream show, Marketing Tip Tea Time at 222. We're your hosts, Josh and Aaron from Zoa Marketing, back at it again with another awesome, information-packed episode of some really high-value stuff with this very specific topic, and well, a very important topic, and then also
It's a little heavy.
There's been a lot of changes lately that
information.
have influenced this topic we're covering today.
2 full pages of notes today.
It's going to be a little different than the last few episodes.
It's pretty crazy.
We were just talking about Google Ads. So, Aaron, what are we talking about today?
I'm going to consult my notes, Josh.
Yeah, let's just...
Today we're going to be talking about data and data regulation, privacy, use. The world of data and data privacy is vastly evolving. Every single day there are a myriad of changes that the tech leaders of our world are implementing. Some of the most notable include Apple's iOS 14.4 update, which just released recently, Facebook's response to this update, which changes the way that Facebook ads serve, and new regulations in the GDPR from the EU, the European Union, and new regulations in from the CCPA and the CPRA in California, which are both regulation and policies for data. With regulation moving at the speed of light, it is becoming increasingly difficult to keep your digital assets in compliance. We're all worried about that as business owners now because you're just being bombarded with, you gotta remain compliant, you gotta remain compliant. That could be for anything, including your social media, your website, your ads, your CRM, your CMS, anything that you have that has any data that's linked to a person or a group of people. It is covered under these regulations and legislations. So we will dive in today on some of the new data privacy regulations and how you can best remain compliant, but also set yourself up for success and not just worry about the compliance aspect.
That's right. But, Aaron, I'm going to stop you there. We know what the viewers want.
So now to the first topic.
We know what the viewers want.
Okay.
We all know that you're all here
one of our
to
viewers
see...
right now. Hello, one viewer.
Hello, one viewer.
Show yourself. Who are you?
We know
Name
you're
yourself.
here for the most important part of the segment, our tea for today.
We have 2 viewers.
So, today we are drinking Numi Gunpowder Green.
Gunpowder. So
It's
we
a
sprinkled
green tea.
real gunpowder in here, just
With
for
actual
flavor.
gunpowder in it.
Yep.
We're going to be lighting this tea on fire while we
And drink it. Yeah. It's
Yes.
kind of like the shots that you see where they light them on fire first. That's what we will be doing.
So I will be doing the pouring today.
Hello, 2 of our viewers. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, jokes, just go ahead and put them on in the comments.
Just spam them down below. What do you think? Decent technique?
Yeah, it was great technique.
You know, you usually pour the tea.
I do.
I think like 90% of the time.
90% of the time,
Yeah.
I am the tea pourer.
So we're switching things
I
up.
am the pourer of tea.
As you can tell
You
in the
need to
background
listen to
here,
me. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
switching things up a little bit. Let us know what you think of the helmets.
Why can't you see that I am the pourer of tea? You need to listen to me, Josh, because I am the pourer of tea.
Well, I'm the pourer of tea now, so
Okay.
here, don't grab it by the cup. You're gonna burn yourself. That's what handles are for.
No, can't pick it up with my mouth. That's impossible.
Yeah, that seems a little difficult. So yeah,
I'll let mine
gunpowder
steep for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, Gunpowder Green today by Numi.
Numi.
And we're gonna let it steep. We'll try it out and let you guys know what we think of the tea.
Now on to
All
our
right.
first topic. Today we're going to define some acronyms. We threw out a lot of stuff to you in the intro, and so we're going to go ahead and define those, and also, I'm going to read from here because there's a lot of acronyms. iOS 14, iOS 14.4 system update. That is the latest system update to Apple mobile devices, which requires opt-ins for all third-party cookies. It also disables some of the functionality of websites and apps. Unless you opt into them, but some of them also, since they're non-compliant to some of their regulations, they're actually not letting them function at all on iPhones anymore. So you will find that maybe some apps or some websites are working not super great on Apple devices, and that's probably because of this update. So just keep that in mind. The GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation by the EU or the European Union. And that covers everything that happens essentially in the EU for data. The CCPA is the California Consumer Privacy Act, and the CPRA is the California Public Records Act, which was an amendment that expands the CCPA, so they are part of the same legislation, not to be confused with them being two different things with different jurisdictions. The GDPR covers scope, penalties, key definitions, data protection, principles, accountability, data security, data processing, consent, requirement of DPOs, which I just learned today. DPOs are data protection officers, which some businesses in Europe are now required to hire a DPO in their C-suite level leadership through this law. So that was pretty crazy to me. And it also covers people's privacy rights for anyone who does business within the geography of the EU, or the geographic region. So if you run ads to the EU, you have to remain compliant to their data standards. They have the authority over anything that happens within their country, and that includes any sort of ad. So if we run an ad from Colorado to there, we still have to comply with their regulations. Pretty crazy. The CCPA covers businesses with any operations in California and meet one of the following criteria. They need to have 25 million or more in annual revenue. The entity receives, buys, sells, or shares for commercial purposes, alone or in combination, personal information on at least 50,000 California consumers, households, or devices, or the entity derives more than half of its annual revenues from the sale of personal information, which seems like a lot because it is, but this doesn't apply to most businesses because not everybody's that big, so it kind of helps some of that out. But the CPRA, which amends that legislation, updates the requirement from 50,000 to 100,000 people, as opposed to the 50,000, which that's a bigger business. However, so it does help small businesses in that aspect, but the CPRA also defines the sharing of PI, also known as personal information, as any sharing of personal information to any organization for a valuable purpose. So that effectively means that anytime you share information, somebody's personal information or aggregate personal information for any marketing, sales, or business analytics purpose, it is considered a valuable resource and therefore falls under this legislation. So all marketing then would be considered to be under the CPRA. And it is important to keep in mind that every state in the US has their own data privacy and regulation legislation that you must follow if you're going to advertise and or have a website that is operational in that geographic area. So you must be sure to look at the local laws of the ads that you are serving to there. But something to keep in mind is that if you follow this CCPA and the CPRA guidelines out of California, those are the most strict and will cover the entire United States because most states are actually deferring to California's laws and copying their legislation to follow. So if you follow the California laws, you are most likely compliant in every state in the United States. And if you are GDPR compliant, you are most likely compliant in every country in the world except for France.
Except for France.
Because France has stricter data laws, than the rest of the European Union. Heavy freaking stuff. That is a lot.
There's a lot that goes into this.
My gosh, but we're going to help you wade through the reeds of all of these laws and regulation. It's kind of ridiculous, it's fragmented, so everybody has their own things, but keep in mind the technology has really expanded and really taken off at a pace that's faster than how we can legislate them, which is why there's a lot of what I would just call like piecework, patchwork kind of laws and legislation going into place, because we're just moving at a much faster rate than laws can be passed. So they're just kind of throwing stuff together, and we are along for the ride.
Figuring it out as we go.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that was a lot of information. So let's talk about what all of that means for you. So these laws and regulations...
Ooh, tasty.
They can be pretty frustrating and confusing.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure some of our audience thought that listening through that first part.
Oh, yeah, I have a headache.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. good thing we have this tea to help with that.
Yep.
So yeah, this can be tough to deal with if you're a business owner with an online presence, of course, right?
Yeah.
Running ads, I mean,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, especially in the EU. A recent report that we actually read by the WFA, which is another acronym for you, World Federation of Advertisers.
Doesn't it sound evil, kind of? It's not. It's actually a very good entity, but just
World
the
Federation.
name sounds...
So they created it really does, a report on data ethics, which encourages businesses to think about data in an ethical and values-based structure, as opposed to a compliance frame of mind, whereas you're just trying to check the boxes to make sure, you're compliant, right?
Exactly.
But rather looking at it in a different view that, we should do what's right, as opposed to that. So the report, we read through it last week, actually. Really insightful report. It's by Jamie Bernard. He is the, General Counsel for Global Marketing and Media, Unilever PLC Chair, WFA Data Ethics Board. I mean, this guy, he's connected. He knows his stuff when it comes to this.
There's so much jargon. It's so funny when we're like, and...
We're gonna try to get him on our show, actually.
We actually are working on that.
We're working on it.
Hopefully.
So this report outlines the 4 principles that businesses should keep in mind when writing internal data ethics policies. These 4 being respect, fairness, accountability, and transparency. So think about how you would want your data taken care of, right?
Transparency.
Exactly. Well, that's actually not very transparent.
Well, I mean, you can see through it.
It's kind of like a moderate tint on a window. So, what would you want to see in a data policy, right? Getting businesses to think about this policy in terms of what's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Right? Because the right thing to do actually does go a long way. From the report that we were
And why is that, Josh? Tell me!
Well, I will tell you exactly.
Yes, spill the secret sauce.
After this commercial. Phil? Welcome back. So, after our commercial break, we are getting back into the 4 principles and how they can affect data ethics policies so much, right?
Yeah.
And really what doing the right thing means in terms of, really what kind of return businesses can see for doing the right thing. And from that report, we actually read this interesting metric, right? It was a 1% increase in brand trust translates to a 3% increase in brand value, right? A 1-to-3 ratio. That's a pretty good ratio, I think.
Yeah, that is good.
I don't know. I've been told I'm a numbers guy, so I'm just kind of throwing that out there. So,
yes.
Yeah, so doing the right thing, increasing your brand trust, from this study that we read, it should translate to a big increase in brand value, and doing the right thing with your data ethics policy has never been more important.
Exactly. Now, we've gone kind of general. You might be thinking, well, okay, this isn't actually helpful to me because I don't know exactly what I need to do. And that's part of the problem, is that everything's kind of vague and whatever. But we do have some very specific steps that you need to take immediately, actually, to be able to advertise on certain platforms. Otherwise, you may not actually be able to advertise on those platforms if you do not take those steps. First, we're going to talk about Facebook, because there are huge changes to Facebook, the Business Manager, and the Ad Manager. Basically, the business suite in general of Facebook. And the reason they're changing that is because of the Apple updates. So there's a lot that they need to do. So they are rolling out many mandatory compliance steps because of the 14.4 update from Apple. And so here are some of the things you need to do. And I've actually memorized them. Don't need my notes.
Oh, you fancy.
So, the first thing is, when you go into your Ads Manager in Facebook, you need to go to the Resources tab. So before, there used to be Campaigns, Ad Sets, Ads. Now there's Resource Center, Campaigns, Ad Sets, Ads. The Resource Center will tell you step by step the things that you need to do to get back into compliance for your Ads Manager. Now, there are a number of steps that you'll need to think about when doing this. The first one is that you need to own and verify the domain of the website that you have. which is problematic for shared domains such as Eventbrite or Etsy, right? Everybody has the etsy.com/ and then you kind of have a page on that website. If you're not the owner, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to run ads to that specific website any longer unless you get permission from that company who then leases out their domain to you for you to be able to use in your ad manager. So our advice now for Zova Marketing is if you have a business, do not rely on these third-party platforms any longer, because you are going to have to, and the way we're seeing it in the future is as data policies increase even more and more and more, you're going to be responsible for the data that comes in to you from your clients and things that are happening. So you need to own the system in which you do that, because you potentially could be liable if Eventbrite uses the data incorrectly off of your data. You as the business owner could be liable for actually that data breach, even though it's not on yours. So it's really important that you try and maybe own your own website and your domain and your data so that you do that. So you're going to have to verify your domain. It's just a little bit of code that they're going to have you put that into the header of your website, or in some instances Facebook might actually try and put it in the, I think it's the CNAME record of your website domain registration, so wherever your domain is registered at. Another thing that you're going to need to make sure that you're doing is you're going to need to make sure that on your website you are following all of the policies that Facebook has in place, which we're going to go over in just a second, but some of those include like having a good privacy policy and cookies and things like that. So that's actually something that we are going to talk about next. A few of the other things you need to know is before you could have unlimited conversion objectives that you could measure, now you're limited to 8. So you actually need to go in and reconfigure your conversions. Once your website is verified, once your domain is verified, you go in and you configure your conversion actions that you want to come through to Facebook so that they can talk to each other. And you're now limited to 8, which is actually kind of a lot. We don't even use 8 for most of our clients. We use 4. And those 4 are usually conversion, view content, which means somebody's like viewed the product, add to cart, and initiate checkout. So those are the 4 that we internally use most of the time because we don't really care about other things, like a page view. Who cares if somebody landed on your homepage? Like, I don't. So, so what you are going to need to do is make sure that you remain compliant with those things and just keep on top of it. It will be changing most likely weekly, because it has been changing weekly. So make sure that you stay on top of that. We will try and roll out as many updates to you as we possibly can, but those are the few steps that you need to take on Facebook immediately. And just as a reminder, if you want to also advertise on Instagram, Instagram is owned by Facebook, and they are actually in the same ad platform that you have to use in order to advertise on Instagram. So if you want to advertise on Instagram, you'll have to do these same exact steps.
And that's right. And it's really quick.
It's quick. It takes not too long.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, we have 3 viewers now. Wow.
We're really moving up, racking them up. Mm-hmm. So you were talking about changes in Facebook, and then that we recommend that clients have their own website now so that they're in control of how those data policies work, and so they're not incurring that extra risk that can come with things like data breaches, right?
Yeah.
Super important to be mitigating that risk so you're not taking that on unexpectedly and then all of a sudden, right, you get the worst news.
Yes.
So let's talk about changes to your website. So permission and consent are the biggest topics as of late. So here are some things that you should be doing to your site to make sure that it is top tier when it comes to data ethics and transparency.
Top drawer.
Top drawer.
As John Hafley used to say. I
like that.
But yeah.
I like that. Top drawer.
Top drawer.
So to be top drawer, one, you want to have an opt-in cookie banner for both desktop and mobile versions of your site. So banner where you can opt in for cookies to be tracked, right?
Yep. It needs to be functional, meaning if they say decline, it won't put cookies on the browser.
Yeah, that'd be bad. Don't do that. Number 2, have a clear and easy to communicate privacy policy that goes over why you collect people's data and how you collect it and what you use for it, right? Just be transparent about why you're actually collecting.
Oh wow, that checks off one of the ones from the WFA.
Oh, the WFA.
The WFA, the
World Federation. Yeah. Yeah, and number 3, you should also describe any applicable laws or rights the consumer has over their data. So quick example, some businesses are actually offering the ability for people to see the exact data that a company has collected, and then give them the chance to correct that information as well.
Yeah,
if it is correct,
that's
incorrect.
Yeah, it's technologically difficult,
Which is
but
extremely
right.
And what we're seeing is that this industry, it's really pushing for a specific cookie opt-in, meaning that some legislative bodies are looking to create, sections, different, divvying up the types of cookies and opting in for each specific one. Those could be, functional cookies, marketing cookies, analytics cookies.
And essential cookies.
And essential cookies, yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Many different types of cookies, a lot of which are super important to us as advertisers, because that's...
If you opt out of those, it's going to be hard for us, guys.
Yeah, it makes it hard for us to show if we're making money for a client. Yeah. Which we've touched a bit on that, about how cookies work with tracking conversion value from ads and how we show ROI through conversion tracking. We touched on that in a few episodes. And quick note, we also have another episode dedicated, I think maybe even 2 episodes, for the iOS 14.4 update that we had a few months ago.
Yeah, I think
so. If you're interested in learning more about that, we have a few of those. I think they were back in February, January maybe.
Yep,
so a few months ago. So that really does a deep dive into exactly what was happening with that. And now it's all rolled out. It's funny, that was back when it was starting to roll out, but now
it's rolled out.
It's in full effect.
Yep.
So back to the website, those are some quick tips for implementing good data ethics policies and just things you should be doing to your website as far as cookies tracking and just being transparent with the customers that visit your site, because it's going to become more and more important as time goes on.
Yes.
So it's best to just get that dialed in now, be transparent, be ethical when it comes to that, and just do the right thing when it comes to collecting consumers' data.
Yep. That's what it comes down to.
That's what it does. What do you think of the tea, by the way?
I like it.
I
like it a lot.
It tastes like gunpowder.
Gunpowdery, kind of.
Yeah, I guess that shouldn't be too surprising, as it is gunpowder green, but...
A little sulfury on the back end, you know? You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All I heard was sulfury back end.
Yep.
It's alright.
I like it.
I wouldn't recommend this one.
I would recommend it.
I thought you had taste in tea. Do we drink so many teas? Like, how can you recommend this?
That's pretty good. It's dark. It's like if you took green tea and made it like dark, you know? You know what I'm saying? Darker. Oh, Phil is giving us the curtain.
Yeah,
I can hear the music.
We're getting the outro music.
Okay.
So I think that's all the time we have today. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Marketing Tip Tea Time. We really
222.
appreciate all the support, the likes, comments, shares.
Thank you. Go ahead and hit that share button. Share it with all your friends. Everybody you know needs to see this content because it is so informational.
And that it is. And we'll be back next week with another informational episode
wait a
of
second.
Marketing Tip Tea Time.
I thought I was supposed to be on the show today. Hello?
Oh yeah, Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on?
And here's Phil.
Welcome, Phil.
You guys told me I was going to be
behind
on the show.
scenes.
I waited the whole
we did tell
show.
him he's gonna be on the show.
I guess.
Whoops.
Here he is. Yep.
We'll have
And
to-
until next time.
Shout out to Phil.
Nostravi.
Shout out to Phil. Nastravi.
Thanks for joining us. Cheers.